Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. You are here once again visiting me in this shared space, and today the topic is sustainability. Sustainability is perhaps one of the most, potentially the most important topic of our time. Sustainability covers all aspects of our lives, from food and agriculture to building practices, resource choice, energy use and technology, emotional development. All of these things are essential for our species to carry on and to flourish. And if we actually pay attention and start getting it right in these areas, the magic that we could create would just be unreal. You know, I was recently listening to a wonderful meditation by British philosopher Alan Watts, who I truly enjoy listening to. And it was great because he made mention of how, some of us talk about how the world should be and what it should look like. And how so many of us how so many people respond by downplaying it and saying, oh, well, that's a utopia and that's not possible and it's never going to happen. And he makes the great point, and this is some years ago, before things got to the point that they're at now. What he says is that is actually exactly what needs to happen and essential if we're going to survive. It's necessary. And many of us have known that for a very long time, which is why we see things the way we do. We're just waiting for the bunch of you to catch up. We don't have that much time, So anyway, today's show, I've got a brother of mine, Brother Aeon, coming on the call. He's been on the path for quite a long time, doing some really great work along the way. And today he'll be joined by two of his brothers and sisters, associates, comrades, partners in shine, Sister Brittney and Brother Jonah. And they're going to tell us about some of the projects that they're working on right now collectively. Give us a little insight into that, how they got started, what direction they're heading in, and how you can be a part of the movement and of what's happening. This is the first of many episodes to come on the subject of sustainability, and they'll also be going over some of the technologies that they and others in our circles, like myself, have been privy to, which do in fact exist, are not figments of the imagination, are not pie in the sky imaginary wants and desires of a idealistic mind. No, I'm talking about actual, physical, tangible, real, ready, and usable technologies that can transform the condition of our world and of our people. Thank you for stopping by for another episode. I hope to continue to have you as my guest. If you're here, it means you are vibrating at a high frequency and you have nothing but good intentions and love in your heart for those around you and for the next generations who will soon be the new custodians of this world. Thank you for listening. I am the WordsMyth. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are for another podcast episode from the Fate.org organization. Fate, of course, standing for the People's Honorable Alliance for Exposing the Truth. That's PHAET.org. And we're here joined by a few incredible and inspiring individuals. We've got Sister Brittney, we've got Brother Jonah, and Brother Aeon, all here with a collective of sustainability projects and other projects that are changing lives and going to be changing lives. And it's very important that we come into contact with news like this so that we know that there are people out there working on such projects and that these things are happening and are real, so that more of us can get behind these types of projects. At the very least, be aware. So, Brittney, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, it's great to have you. I understand that you have a documentary that I don't know if you're working on or if it's ready. Please take the floor and tell our listeners a bit about what you're working on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's actually a platform for mini documentaries that are themed based around regenerative and sustainable movements. So right now I'm just working on curating a collection of different filmmakers, a collective of filmmakers, and building out the platform for them to open source share materials so there can be collaboration on different films. And also the platform is really built on the premise that we want to give the youth a voice. So we're going to be receiving funds and making sure that the youth have materials, camera supplies and different things. And also the filmmakers, part of them being on the platform is an agreement that they'll be mentors to the youth, so that the youth are receiving guidance for how to make different films. So yeah, all the different filmmakers are really working on their own projects right now, but we're also wanting to support them in funding as well.
Well, that's amazing. That's truly fantastic, and I definitely love the focus on youth, as they will be taking or already have the torch in their hands, really.
Mm.
So I guess first, tell me a little bit about how or what was the inspiration behind this project. What kind of led you to it?
Well, so we started to talk about the living documentary within Living Earth Solutions to share the stories of the earth and of the people. The living documentary is just an aspect of a portal that we're building of the living library. So it's an archives, basically, of seed, stone, story, and song. And so also the youth aspect came in as I've been working with an organization called Feel, which rose about 20 years ago, but they're focused on emotional literacy. And, with a lot of school shootings, it's clear that the youth feel like they aren't being heard. And so we really just want to bring that to the forefront and be able to support them by giving them a platform.
That's a wonderful focus. And I'm just curious, are there any particular, maybe a couple of films, just so we can give the listeners an idea of maybe some of the projects that are within the scope of the living documentary right
Sure.
now? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're working on a food sovereignty documentary right now. That's a global food sovereignty documentary, just traveling around and showcasing different farms and markets, talking to people that are really forward thinking in the movement. There's another documentary Aeon was interviewed for it as well. Our brother Joshua, who's been going around and showcasing different communities and, again, people who are really at the forefront of the regenerative movement. And another friend, Cougar Harold, he's a filmmaker in California who is making a documentary on the woman, indigenous women who also would like to have a platform to speak out on just really powerful women. And so, yeah, we're really just wanting to archive the materials of the different projects, that we're participating in. And it's going to be also a way that we can showcase the different organizations that we're working with as well, in some of the really revolutionary technologies and projects that we're working on.
Well, great. I'm definitely no stranger to the subject of sustainability, but maybe some of the listeners may not, a lot of listeners may not be familiar with certain terminology and things like that because, it's just not, it's not a subject that's pushed in schools, nor in the media, nor, in people's general circles. So maybe if you could just give a brief description of what is meant when you'd said food sovereignty, just so that people can kind of, have a feel for that.
Yeah, so food sovereignty specifically, and sovereignty in general is becoming self-sufficient, becoming empowered to be able to make your own choices on how you want to live your life. And really, part of another movement is an organization I founded called Fruit the World. So the idea is just that we have the right as living beings to walk outside our door and have access to food, medicine, and life-giving materials, So anything that really supports our expression of life. And today, unfortunately, many of us live in times where we are in survival mode, and it's not really allowing us to express ourselves in our fullest, in our highest expression. So many people don't even understand that that's an option. It's just about paying bills and trying to survive. So kind of on that, the difference between sustainability and regenerative, with Living Our Solutions, we're really working on regenerative solutions that are not really, we don't even really necessarily want to sustain some of the issues that we have going on today. We're trying to support the regeneration of life and honoring what's sacred.
Yes, that's very well said, and you're right. I mean, this is kind of the situation that most people find them in themselves in right now, which is survival mode and just being able to get by. And at the same time, when we talk about being able to, live and express oneself freely, we're also in a time where rights are being eroded on a daily basis, including in many instances the right to simply grow fruits and vegetables in one's own yard, and things like collecting water and just all the things that anyone should be able to do autonomously without any interference or say are becoming issues. So it's great that you guys are working on putting all this great material and media together, and trying to get it out to the public. So I definitely thank you for your efforts very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else in particular that you wanted to add?
Just being able to have that platform to be able to showcase. I mean, I'm really grateful for these podcasts to be able to share the word, and I feel like the more that we're able to put some eyes on it, then more we'll be able to understand the changes that we're working on.
Exactly, and that's truly the purpose of Fate.org and of the podcast is really about getting this information out to people, because and I had this discussion briefly with Brother Aeon the other day. When you talk to people who are and most of society is far removed from any of these concepts, much less working solutions, and organizations who are putting forth and manifesting and working with solutions for a lot of these problems. But so when these people hear one talking about them, it's like it's so foreign. They have a hard time even believing that such projects are real or that solutions exist to any of these problems, because they feel like, well, if there were solutions, I would have heard of them by now.
Yeah, or even how to tap in and support that, you know? So we're hoping to make it much more easily accessible to people as well, you know, so they can join the movement, because this is about us. This is about a collective, and this is a movement, you know, we are co-creating together.
Co-creating is precisely the word.
Mm-hmm.
That's truly what's happening, and we're all co-creating a much better, brighter, healthier, more loving future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at this point, if this is Aeon, if we could co-create in a way that was, open source, where anybody could gain entrance to it, and then potentially also get, credits towards a curriculum, that's an ultimate goal that's why we also want to start with the children, because then we can, begin to share these things on the ground when they're learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Mm-hmm. Teach them emotional intelligence then, and have them vibe into community, and then create a portal for them to walk into a full prosperity plan. I'll jump back out.
Yeah, that's a great plan laid out. So Brother Aeon, please tell us a little bit about what you have going on right now, and what the different sectors that you guys are involved in, and any particular projects or technologies that you'd like to speak on. Please feel free. The floor is yours, and of course anyone can chime in anytime that's appropriate. And go ahead.
I just wanted to defer to Jonah. Did you want to go next?
Yeah, I would pick up the mic on that
awesome.
path. I think it was a beautiful segue in what currently out there on the table and what we're speaking on, and getting into the youth and the education curriculum. And so that is something that is the main focus of what I've been really cultivating and bringing forth, and gathering around and traveling around the world at this point, gathering curriculums from all different tribes, if you will, and all different walks. And so, ancient future wisdom coming to be able to fill in the container, fill in the curriculum to allow for an easy flow and empowering choice with the youth, so they can just flow into what is within them already naturally, and providing a landscape for that, and creating a landscape for that. So one of the large project coming forth right now is Lighthouse Effects, and this is really getting into emotional intelligence, and working with that, and bringing a nice integrated platform with music, arts, creativity, culture, and the integration with the youth, and going into what type of emotions are we feeling as we listen to songs and listen to music, and go into different creative paths that help to open up these emotional gateways for healing and for empowering, moving into a nice, beautiful place. So as the youth continue to move forward, they're just really going into what, again, is naturally within them, and what arrived on this planet to do. So really excited right now for Lighthouse Effects. There's a gathering November 17th is when that will be launching. This weekend we will be gathering and doing a nice prototype practice, and bringing awareness to this project at a very large music festival in Minnesota. And so that's a beautiful thing happening there with Lighthouse Effects and the educational aspects, that is in alignment with another project called that I'm working forward in, is called yoga, and that's just bringing forth mindful practice, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and occupational kind of energy movements that help just cultivate peace within self, so that we can go ahead and resonate that out into our communities, and to bring forth a organization that is moving in unity consciousness and co-creating together.
Yeah, I really like everything that you said and how you're expressing certain things, because it's important that people who are new to sustainability, new to the movement, new to spirituality, new to trying to grow in ways that are positively progressive for themselves and for the community, to understand that it is a process. There is a process, and it's a total mind, body, spirit process. There is no one area to study or learn. It's a nexus of aspects that really needs to be cultivated, both individually and then of course that expands and ripples outward into the community and further beyond that. So you said the name of the organization is
Lighthouse Effects.
Lighthouse Effects. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a website? Is there a website that people can go to, and as well, Brittney, for the living documentary, are there places that people can go to research these movements?
Yeah, right now the best place would be just to go to our website, livingearthsolutions.com. We're building out some of the portals. They're pretty massive though, so it's taking a little bit of time.
Oh yes, definitely understood. Yeah, there's a lot of work goes into these things. Okay.
Yeah, agreed. I see. Living Earth Solutions is, the direct portal that can open up into those other gateways. Projects that are being brought forth with these living solutions as we all come together, co-creating these solutions together. In this fashion, so we can share into those. We can come into council and prioritize and think about which projects need to be taking the primary focus and where to be moving our resources in the best and highest ways, make the greatest impact and transformation needed for the planet. So really being in alignment with the frequency, of the earth right now is something as well that we are really focused on and cultivating, and some basic initiations, so that we can get into understanding our natural, universal laws and how to be in more resonance with nature and evolving with that back into integration with that harmonious spirit of life. So these multiple projects coming forth, it really again comes back into the regenerative aspect and sustainability, which is really looking at the abilities to sustain onward, and that looks always into our youth, sort of what is best for them with that perspective, and that seeing magnifying glass, micro to the macro, coming on back in.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a severe disconnect between the general populace and the frequencies that you speak of, and the earth, Mother Nature, each other, so on and so forth. But through these kind of projects, yes, absolutely, we'll be able to help people reconnect, and then of course see lots of progress over the both short and long term. I wanted to ask you, Brother Jonah, in your travels and interactions with indigenous groups, what are some of their primary concerns or circumstances that you've seen, or that you've come into contact with, that you feel it's very important for people to know, or to keep in mind, or that the general public may not have the opportunity to normally hear about?
What I experienced in that traveling was the remembering, as you just put it, is like us remembering ourselves allows us to really be grounded into all of the things, how far we've come as in humanity, how far we've come as humanity, and how many things that we've moved through and what we're still moving through, to come into this oneness of being and recognizing. And so, being able to really sit with each other and go into these emotions. And that's where I feel this emotional technology and the science of spirit and moving with those frequencies can help to bring forth the compassionate healing in these circles with the indigenous that are now coming together, for the first time really ever, and really coming in alignment because of what we are being called into at this time. It's like, this is really a planetary shift that we're having to move into, and so that concern with, if it's any concern, it is a concern of allowing for the space to let go of the past while remembering the past so that we can move into the future, with empowering wisdom and knowledge to look at what we've known from the past from these indigenous cultures, like, hey, this is wisdom and it's from experience, and now we can integrate that with the technology of our Western culture and that straightforward movement and bring it into harmony and prophecy.
Beautifully put, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Okay. Brother Aeon, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Brother Aeon, peace and love, man. Thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an honor and a pleasure to have all of you. And I'll just give a quick insight, since we're here, as to how we connected, which was a pretty cool circumstance. I was deep in research on industrial hemp and putting together a business plan, because it just simply is the most badass plant on earth. And for anyone listening who doesn't know that yet, you soon will. And I come across, I was just trying to get a feel for what other business plans around hemp looked like, and I found this website, and it had this, the website is called Prezi. It's like a presentation making website, and there was a presentation there about hemp, and in the comment section underneath, there was only one or two comments, and one of them essentially said to the person who created that presentation, it said, "Hey, what are you currently doing with the hemp, or if you're still interested, or please get in contact." And it left an email address, and I thought to myself, someone who also happened upon that presentation and who went so far as to leave a message and leave contact information. I mean, they have to be pretty real deal people too, the kind of people I'd want to link with. And so I took that email address and I sent a message, and I wound up speaking with Brother Eric, who then introduced me to Brother Aeon, and it's just been a really, really beautiful blossoming, friendship and working relationship since then. So, Brother Aeon, please, wherever you'd like to begin, the floor is yours. Beginning at the end? It's over? That's good. Hello. Paging Aeon. Ian, I don't know Ian, if you are talking, you're muted. I don't know if you're maybe even.
Yeah.
I hope you haven't been speaking the whole time.
I have been.
Oh my God,
no.
Oh man, yeah, I couldn't hear you. You were muted. Okay, so all right,
I put on some noise reduction headphones, and apparently it reduced all noise.
Okay, cool, man. All right, well, you are back, and once again, take it from the top. The floor is yours.
Thank you. It's been an honor to know you as well, brother. We've definitely watched and seen, and we're at the grassroots of the humps in this culture that we as Americans have to jump over, dig under, go around, build some kind of story how we can convince somebody to get us in the back door just to get a simple thing across the board to where it's fully funded. As you know, as everybody here knows, we see full funding of things that break in a day. We see full funding of things that have no purpose whatsoever in society yet to waste time. And you and I, and as well as everybody else in this room, has seen things that had they been funded long ago, we would have never seen the devastation we have today.
Absolutely.
We would have never had hungry. We would have never had drought. We would have food forests everywhere, and everybody would have plenty to eat. It's come to our attention that the only reason why there is a finite resource is because we're using too much and not giving anything back to the earth. In some ways, how we've grown to the idea that this is our birthright. I honestly think it's a lie. So my world has revolved around the earth. What does the mother want? What does the mother need? Why am I seeing 60% of the species disappear in my lifetime, 45 years? What can I do in the next 45 years and beyond that? How can I create a platform that anybody is welcome, no matter what your faith is, no matter where you came from, no matter what you're stuck in, you can go today and to start to feel what it feels like to have a tribe and to be a part of community and build it from the ground up with sustainable technology that grows and evolves with every single one there. And that's from the bees to the trees to the human beings. So we've approached this in multiple directions, and we've come as to a consensus that the living documentary, that going to events and festivals, showing up on site and showing people that we're real, that we really have this, we can make this available. Many of the technologies we're working for in food sovereignty are so dynamic. They're so on the cutting edge, and then beyond that, their plan is so far beyond the cutting edge that people may not grok it yet. They may not come to an understanding of it. They may look at it and think it's space age. Well, welcome to space.
That's right. That's right. Tell them.
And we really want to get people on the ground to understand that there's a potentiality for that. And so people on the ground have already begun building things to go to space. And there's a lot of money being pushed in that direction. I personally will stay on Earth. And if I'm the last man standing, I'll be the one man to say stop to all the travesty that we've seen in my lifetime and the many lifetimes I've had before this. And I'm here on this earth for one single purpose, to bring balance. And that's through emotional intelligence, it's through conscious communication, it's through showing up with integrity, even when you mess up. Still continuing to come to the table and say, hey, this is where I'm at. Where are you at? How can we work together? Because we have to get further today than we were yesterday. And if we don't get further today than we were yesterday, then we're going to lose a big piece of what wasn't yesterday that nobody paid attention to. And typically that's children. So our living documentary gives them a chance to see something instead of cartoons. And we'd love to make an animated version. And actually it ties something to it, virtual intelligence, that would allow those children to take it as far as they want and to really learn anything they want to know and not have to wait behind a teacher that may or may not even know the subject. You know how many kids today I hear come home from school and say that teacher didn't even understand that page, didn't even understand the equation, didn't even understand that part of history. I went to the library and saw X, Y, and Z. And so grassroots today is way different than it used to be. It's deep, 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 deep roots, like an oak tree, to the furthest part of this earth where it's still gentle and at peace. And rising that all the way up to the surface so we get just a little taste. Because we've been adapting in the opposite direction. That's why we're all dying. That's why we're all suffering from dis-ease because of the stress and static in our life to live a 9-to-5 sort of situation where we pay all our bills and we're called okay. But we can't feed ourselves if we can't fill the refrigerator. I mean, we typically can't get clean water out of our sinks. And we have to use electricity. I paid $480 to turn my electricity on. What? I call that extortion.
That's exactly what it is.
And this is the world we live in. And had I not paid the $480, I wouldn't have got my electricity on.
Meanwhile, Tesla tried to give it to us for free many years ago.
Meanwhile, it's everywhere. And it's this static that we've all been taught to carry around that keeps us from tapping into it. And those who practice many different things, from Kundalini to meditation to yoga to deep thinking, see just the edge of it. And if they take it further, another 8 minutes, another whole day, whatever, they get a little deeper. And it's scary at first. It's nothing like anything you've ever done before because you've never done it before. But once you've done it, there's nothing like it. And then it's just this living library, as Brittney had said, that you just continue to go into and open up books that are not available in any place on earth. Learn more about the soul and spirit and body and mind and emotional aspects that live right here in our now. They're all trying to have a platform to just speak out, typically against someone, because that's how we're taught. So really what Living Earth Solutions is about is just supplying the method to living and thriving into the future, regardless of what that looks like. We have a lot of people up high who are making decisions that have nothing to do with us. So one of the projects that I have is hemp. I want to create a hemp university where everyone can go and learn about this plant and all its 75,000 uses and how it can replace every single thing in our world. And should we leave it behind, it'll just go right back into the ground. And we're really smart, so we'll put seeds in it and it'll grow again. And we want to create a future that makes it easy for everybody to get in. And it's not just hemp, it's all the way across the board. Food, water, shelter, energy, retreats, resorts, healing, well-being, school, where people get to incubate and figure it out. Why have I been going this direction? Why do I have these things happening? Why do I feel like I'm not living? Why do I feel like I don't have any solutions? What is the earth? Who made that up? So we're tied to a lot of really amazing technologists who have provided the ability to feed 100 people out of one space for a year. We've created fully sustainable shipping containers that can show up anywhere and grow 2 acres of food out of it, with everything self-contained in that unit. Both of those units come with Internet of Things, so you can be away from your unit and dial in different things and see exactly what's happening there. Everybody we partnered with has agreed to be a part of the living documentary. And so we asked them to send us, their archives, whatever they want to share with the world about what they're doing and how they're doing it and what their mission is and how people can get involved and what does one cost and how do I work with that, et cetera. And we believe that, there's a potential to get grants to be able to support life. from multiple directions, from the bees to the trees. And then the human beings get to be the stewards and the ambassadors in between, and the emissaries of a new world that will invite everything that is good, natural, pure, peaceful, and using the language of love in a way that is probably not used very often. Really just making that a part of the movement and allowing that movement to evolve. And we're just one people who have chosen to create a platform to get this done. That's all.
Well, let me first once again commend all of you for the work that you've been doing up to this point and all the work that you'll continue to do moving forward, and for allowing or opening the doors for opportunity for people to be able to get involved and to be a part of the movement, and for creating these platforms, these educational platforms. And I wanted to just speak to one thing that you mentioned, and that's the technologies. And in a moment maybe we'll get a little more specific with a few of them aside from hemp, because we spoke on that. A lot of the cutting edge technologies that are kind of around us and in our orbits, some of them in fact are new creations, and some of them are ancient technologies coming back to the conversation. But it's interesting how almost all of them, if a person is not on this path, not looking for such ideas and such solutions, the probability of them coming across them is just so low. But once you're on this frequency, and once that desire to be a part of and to affect positive change is ignited within a person, and they start to dig because they want answers and they want to understand, they want to know what's going on and what can work and what exists. Once you're on that path, these things, you gravitate to them or they gravitate to you, but that connection happens, and it's really amazing. I mean, in our circles, man, I mean, we really know some incredible people with incredible technologies that are, as you said, some people may not rock with them yet because it's just so beyond, their concept of what's possible, and because they're so outside of the box from what's been taught in the education systems up to this point, or at least for quite some time now. But yes, I just wanted to speak to the fact that it's out there. I mean, all of this is out there for anyone who just takes the time, which is born of the care. But if you just take that time, you can find such a wealth of solutions. And so thank you very much to Living Earth Solutions for all the work that you guys are doing. Brother Aeon, please, I know that there's several other technologies that you guys have that you are working with and can work with and that can be implemented in a number of different areas. So maybe we can just kind of go down a list without necessarily going into too much detail, because I know that people, you guys have schedules and things, but we could always come back and get more into those on a separate episode. But
sure.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, so, a few years, just a tiny bit of background. About 8 years ago, I decided to work on an online document that anybody could access and add to, and there was 99 issues and 99 solutions. And as I started just going down the issues, and it was amazing how many of them were readily available, 55. I could name 55 issues that I could point out and do research on and get backed up articles that would prove to, beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was definitely an issue and there was somebody speaking to it. Whether it was being heard or not is irrelevant. And during that time, previous to that, I began my deep dive into sustainability and what that looked like. And some of the first people I came across were developing free energy devices. And I got to go see those, and I got to see them work. And for about a year, I just traveled around the United States and met these people in their backyards and their back garages and their side shops and their underground blah, blah, blahs, and signed NDAs and went and saw what they had and went and saw it not only work, but work beyond anything I'd ever seen before. And I would say this just to honor their struggle, it is a struggle for them to develop outside of their peer groups, because most of them come from what would be considered outstanding peer groups. And had they ever heard that they were working on something outside of that circle, they'd be ostracized. And many of them ostracized themselves and got to such a point in their genius because they had no support. They couldn't, some of them couldn't even cook a TV dinner and couldn't do their dishes and couldn't do these many things. And so that brought me into a space of just standing in the gap. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say, what a sad situation for all of these innovators that, over the years, I mean, I as well, I definitely have had some of the same types of backyard and underground conversations and meetings, and it's just such a shame that their voices and their technologies up to this point have pretty much been silenced, or it's made very difficult to publicize and to really gain headway with. And of course, this is due to, and it's almost always due to money and somebody not wanting their profits to disappear or their strongholds in certain industries to fall, regardless if that industry and its practices are harming people and the environment. But that time, I feel, is pretty much coming to an end, due in part to a lot of the work that you guys and myself and a lot of other great people are doing. And with that, please continue.
So one of the first things I came across was energy. And as I said, met many developers and inventors of new energy, new ways to acquire energy, new ways to produce energy, and new ways, I'll just say, to tap into energy. I ran into and met the organizers of the HeartMath and their institute and what they were doing there and how they were studying energy. I have two of my really, really good friends who went to the Vesica Pisces Institute, and that is now closed down. That also had been studying energy for much longer than we here in the United States have, and Great Britain. And so I got to meet and speak with these people, and it just really inspired me in such a way that I just literally put everything, well, actually at that time, I just literally turned my house over to a friend and went on the road. And like I said, I signed these NDAs and I started meeting these people and I started finding this commonality amongst them, and I started having to work with them on those levels to try to bring them up in emotional intelligence so they would actually be able to go to market. Because, you can't bring some of these people into a room with a bunch of men with suits. So that actually created probably one of my stronger drives to just really figure out where the people were that I could partner with that could get these people out. And I eventually started meeting tribes, and I got to speak with the chief of the Cherokee Nation, Brother Grey Wolf, and really learn about what he was about. And that actually led me to meeting some really amazing people I won't speak about here. And I really learned about what they were doing and how they were trying to bring technology into the world. And that opened up my eyes to see, okay, well, let's see really who's out there doing this and has already hit the market. And so I met a gentleman who was coming in from Australia. He was given a deal that if he was able to bring something into the United States that would purify water, especially at toxic waste sites where mining had been done, or anything like that, that they would, and he could, make a deal for 7 of these, they would buy 100 of them in another country. And And so I began working with his technology and became a part of his team and learning all about this wastewater technology and how it works. And then I met another gentleman who I love to speak about, but I won't speak about today, Dan Winter, who really took water to the next level and let me see what it looks like in a 2D form and a 3D form and beyond that. And that just really brought me into the space of water. And then some tragedies happened around me with water specifically that made me go even deeper. And then I made phone calls and I met up 4 or 5 other people in one day that I actually needed them that could cure the problem. The problem was never cured. And so that just upset me. Now I'm upset. And now I'm like, how do we do this? What do we have to go knock on doors and say, hey, yo, did you know? And how many of us can actually do that and really want to make a lifestyle around that? But that's a mission. And that's what missionaries do. And that's why our organization supports that. You want to walk on doors? That's cool. We'd rather have you go to cities, invite them to our festivals, our events, the little bulletin boards, so that they can make their own choice. And maybe through their people, there will be a pollination that will happen that will actually keep them coming back and bring their friends. And it's a gentle journey. And then they can see the technology. And that's what the Cherokees say. They say, hey, you've got something new? And you say, yeah, it's like that thing over there. And they're like, oh, well, put it next to that thing. And if it works better than that thing in a year, you can move that thing and we'll take this thing. And then I learned about validation. So all of our technologies go through a 1-year validation with wherever they're at. That way, the people know that they're 100% serviceable and returnable for that full year. And we get to prove that they can do exactly what they say to do. And that is clean up the water. That is structure the water. That is bring it back to life again so you're drinking living water. That is providing you energy that doesn't sap your energy. And the spectrum of that is from solar to wind to hydroelectric to free energy to kinetic energy and beyond. And I've seen devices that work for all of those. Not very many of them in the United States. And then we get into food sovereignty. And food sovereignty is a deep, deep dive. We want to make it easy for everybody to grow food no matter what's going on outside. So we've developed with our brother Casey James a dome that can withstand just about anything and go into space. And a pyramid that changes your whole relationship with food and the space that it is grown in and the space that you may choose to live in. And that's the dive into the technology that's more ancient, that allows people to be able to experience in real time with a documented archive that they can, stream. It shows them exactly how everything works, exactly where everything's going, and how they get in between and develop their prosperity. And so most of the technologies that I've been focused on today is prosperity-based technologies. And that's everything from artificial intelligence, that's a personal assistant, to the basic, what we would call a drip economy, where you're fully involved in your own living space, and it supplies for you everything you need plus. You get people into understanding how to do beehives and how to colonize and how to raise a healthy colony so that they can be split apart and spread around. You teach people how to tend their forest so that it's a living forest and a thriving forest, and it provides them food, shelter, shade, material. And then all the little plants in between, and all the little mushrooms and mycelium in between, and all the composting, and all the things that are a lot of work but a lot of fun in my world, and how that space can continue to give back. And then we take that to a larger scale. What's it look like in a city? So the city that I'm in right now, I have a community gardening project that's going to be going through the high school and giving credit for them to learn how to permaculture. And that begins in the fall.
That's wonderful.
So we want to make that a thing. I see vacant land everywhere I go. We want to make it a thing. We want to make it a thing not only for food, but also for hemp, also for other medicinal plants that are not, on a schedule list. and just make it enjoyable for people to be a part of their prosperity, of their providence, of their legacies, for them to have access to technology that is not here. Buy this and you'll never hear from us again unless you owe us a bill. And the day that you pay your bill, which is much like the phone I have right now, the day I paid my bill, it stopped working as well. And the day that the phone was paid off, it stopped working as well. So I paid $650 for a phone. It dies in 2 years. We want to stop that trend by being there and saying, oh, guess what? We have a new technology in our portfolio. Would you like to try it out too? Right next to the one we gave you or the ones you're already using from them, and just see if it works. And we'll have a full service industry that backs it. So that anytime there's a problem, there's a 1-800 number and it's never busy. And that's a lot of work. And that's a little bit of a dream that's only happening in a few of my partners' industries. But I'd like to see it happen across the board and return true customer service. And if you have to, we're really moving into that future, there's a virtual assistant that can pop right out of your screen and tell you what to do, walk you right through. And it'll have a source intelligence behind it that is the best of the best on this planet. And so these are the ways we want to integrate the technology so it's easier for people to not get overwhelmed. But we also want to offer them our stewardship and the people that say, hey, I'd love to show up and do what I do best and allow somebody to learn. And then they're holding space for this to happen, and they get an opportunity to learn, and it's still harvested and it still goes to market and they still get their cut for holding space. So there's, in this way, economic technology that's coming into play. It gives people more leverage with what they have, what they know, and what they can do. And then there's healing technology that has the ability to cure every single thing that I've ever heard of. And all these things are, in most cases, ready to go. Yet, once again, you're not hearing about it on NBC or wherever it is you go. And we want to change that. But we want to change it and make it really comfortable. So we want to create community. We want to go back to eco-villages. We want to get people to eventually leave the technology behind and realize all the technology is just in our mind and start living on Earth again. But only certain people will be into that, and a lot of people have a hard time letting go and believing. So that's a work in progress. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in, and that's where conscious communication comes in, and that's where our friends can come in and say, hey, I've been down that road too. This is what I did. Want to try? Here's a place where you can go try that as long as you want. And we'd love to be able to sponsor them so they don't have to worry about their bills for 2 weeks. And they can go get knowledge and well. They can cure their disease. I'm not supposed to say that.
I didn't hear
it. But yeah, and that's what's real. So, there are various things that I know that I haven't seen, but it's not really interesting to me at this point. Like the things that I'm looking at are necessary. Coral reef restoration is necessary. We have an informational technology for that. Soil remediation is necessary. We have the means to remediate any soil all the way back. Restore ecologies over in less than a year, but we say a year. And if you draw the ecology into 1 acre in 1 year, it'll affect 10 acres in 1 year. If you draw the ecology into one human, and same thing for a human, that human will go out and affect 10 humans. So if you inspire one human, you empower one human, you give a human tools, that human is more likely to meet 10 other people that need those tools. They need that information, and they want that intelligence. They want that emotional stability. They want to be able to live a life without stress. And to trust that what is in their circle, and what is in their ecology, and what is in their environment is for their best. That's going to lift them up every single day and never ask more than it's willing to give. So there's a balanced relationship between society and culture and civilization and all their needs. And there's a really, really smart relationship with their desires. and how to curb them when they're no longer healthy and how to recognize that. Because sometimes when you have all your means taken care of, you forget. You get amnesia. People become, angry all the time. They become, this other thing, that comes from a laziness that's not really involved. It's just allowing everything to do it for you. And we're not looking for an automated society here. We want a working relationship.
Well, I couldn't have said any of that better than you just did. Well put, brother.
Thank you.
I think that the aspect of emotional intelligence that you guys really seem to keep centering on and focusing on, it is so important, so integral, and so necessary right now. That is, it's great to hear that, and hopefully from this conversation, people are getting an idea of what that means and maybe being inspired themselves to, seek out ways that they can begin to sort of harness or restructure their and to expand their emotional intelligence.
If you don't mind, it's simply just about feeling or allowing yourself to feel and to stop suppressing your feelings. But, it's all of these solutions we have to remember, because our minds can make them much more complicated, but it's really about returning to simplicity and less trying to look outside oneself and returning the mirror a little bit.
Absolutely. Definitely the time is here for people to remember to look inward, because all of the answers really are in there. They always have been. But people have just been systematically disconnected from that. But here we are, trying to bring that back to the forefront. Brother Aeon, is there anything else in particular that you wanted to cover, or that you feel you haven't covered for this particular episode?
Yeah, we're just asking people to reach out. We're here. We do a lot of work to be here. And we want help. And, typically when people say that, they're like, give us money. We don't really, we do want to be supported, but it's not about that. Our technologies cost money, but so does everything else in life. But our technologies give back. And that's the point. So wouldn't you rather be in a relationship with something that gives back to you? Wouldn't you rather, when your car no longer works, they say, hey, why don't you just give it back? Oh, yeah, you keep the value. Instead of you drive off the lot and it begins losing value. And every single part on this car is replaceable. But they use a material that's super hard to get. And they require getting into places that they shouldn't be to get it. And that's really what the living documentary hopes to do, is to be able to share with you that it's not the truth. There are multiple options for every single thing that we're currently involving ourselves in. There's not just one option. We live in a patent society. It makes it very difficult for the option to even be heard. 18 months, lots of money. And if people were to vibe into community responsibility and accountability and integrity, and create spaces for things to be shared where everybody's on board. And honestly, if you're not building any kind of weapon, you got nothing to worry about. The volatileness of what we're talking about is less to none. You're going to grow food. You're going to use things that have been used before. They're just going to be used together collectively to do more. And so, yeah, reach out to any one of us, to our organization, to our partners. Ask them what they're doing. Look at the pictures and go beyond the words. Do what we did. Research, search, seek, find, resonate, build resonance. Thank you.
Brother Aeon, thank you so much. And I will, of course, be putting links to your website and any other links that you want me to provide for those who have come across this podcast so that they can reach out, research, email, contact, be a part of, whether it's through, whatever way they would like to support. The avenues will be there, and I will provide all that information in the description of this episode. What a great conversation. What an amazing group of people. What an amazing movement. And I'm very happy, humble, and honored to be a part of everything that's happening and to be pushing for all of these things together with you guys to ensure the manifestation of them, all in the name of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Aeon, Sister Brittney, Brother Jonah. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing all the projects develop and helping in any other ways that I can, and doing some more great episodes in the near future to kind of track progress and bring light to any other particular circumstances and things that you'd like to get out. This line and this podcast is always open to all of you. Thank you so much. Peace and love, and I hope to see you and speak with you very soon.
You as well, brother.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Brothers Aeon, Sister Brittney, and Brother Jonah. I just want to thank them again for coming on the show and sharing all this great information with us. And I really look forward to doing more shows like this and having more technologies represented. This was kind of more of a broader conversation, and in the near future, I'll definitely be doing much more technology specific episodes centering around one, maybe two different technologies, so that people can really get familiar with these ideas and understand that there are people that have been working on them for many, many years, and there are a number of them available. And I really hope that leads to the question, because if you don't ask yourself questions, if you don't try to understand a situation or a circumstance that we find ourselves in, then you're not really providing much use to the conversation. And this has to be a group effort. We need everybody's help. Everyone's got to do something, even if that's simply sharing what you've heard with other people. I can never stress that enough. That's how it starts. The butterfly effect is a very real thing. So what I'm saying that one should ask oneself is, once you hear about these different technologies and knowing the problems that we have and how useful they can be and the kind of change that they can effectuate, I really want you to ask yourself why these things have not been implemented. Why do we not see these things everywhere? Why are they not commonplace? Why are they not in our communities? Why are they not in our homes? Why are they not actively improving the quality of life for people everywhere? And that should lead you to some kind of an understanding or a notion, an idea, an inkling that something is wrong, that something within the system is wrong, that there is in fact the systemic intentional blocking and suppressing of these kinds of technologies and of this kind of information. Why? Because it would level the playing field. It would give a lot of people a much better place to be starting from, and they'd be able to accomplish much greater things. And it would take away this ridiculous idea that everything needs to be competition. That is not at all how we're going to thrive. That is not the recipe for greatness, and that is not how we want to be represented as a species. Especially if we're going to call ourselves evolved, or if we're to think that we are evolving. Symbiosis, now that is the key. Understanding how we as a collective and together with all other species, how we can work together to build out this better world. Thank you again for your time. I am always humble and honored to have you here with me, listening to my words, my ideas, my thoughts, my feelings, and my love for you and for everyone else out there who wants to be a part of change, a part of history, and making a difference. Because you certainly have the capacity to, and you're certainly needed. I am the Wordsmith, and this has been another wonderful episode of the Fate.org podcast. Fate standing for the People's Honorable Alliance for Exposing the Truth. And I, my friends, will catch you on the other side. Peace and love always.